black girl whose native language is Japanese, which is kind of weird, but it's out there. We don't see many of this, but there are people of all ethnicity that born all over the world. And this video will teach us that people are people. Don't matter what you look like, the country that you were born in, or your native tongue that you speak. We should all look at each other as a gift and a blessing from God. Speak of her experience entering American schools and the culture coming to America.
I guess the hard part. I understand, like when I was living in Japan, because of my looks, I look foreigner. That's fine. But to say I'm lying, like about my character, like how's that connected? I guess it was the first time I realized I hadn't questioned it. And my mom even told me, because I went to summer school for English, because my English was just that bad. And so I went to summer school, and I remember I'm in a classroom full of other foreigners, who are their native languages aren't English, basically. Okay. So there's one person from where was she from? Greece or something? One person from Greece, one person from China, one person from Korea, and all these African countries. I forgot where. Mm-hmm. And when it was my turn to speak, everybody looks like where they come from, right?
Yeah.
and I'm over here like, oh, I'm from Japan. And they're looking at me. And I'm over here if it's an international group, why does it even matter? Do I have to look like where I'm from? I guess, I don't know. Uh-huh. So it was pretty confusing. So I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, why don't people believe me when I say I'm from Japan? It was just a really heavy thing. My mom was like, oh my goodness, she doesn't understand. It's
it was happening, I guess.
Yeah.
Your mom's probably like, oh.
Yeah, and I even asked them, because I'm moving to America and learning about race and learning about these things. I asked my parents, yo, why didn't you guys ever explain this to me? As if it wasn't important, And, of course I'm approaching them upset, like you're supposed to apologize to me, whatever. But they actually said something really interesting. They said in Japan there was no reason to explain things like that because it was a non-factor. It didn't matter that, I was black, so what, So I'm like, that's why you didn't tell me. So now as an adult looking back, it's I understand why you didn't tell me, but there was no warning, there was no training, there was no challenge. I just it was hard for me to kind of get over that.
Yeah, but I guess maybe their reason is they didn't want to impress upon you hey, you're black, so you have to do this or do that or be different.
Yeah.
They just wanted you to grow up
and just be, But also, I guess even if they did explain it to me, I probably would not have understood anything. So it's
not until you got there, right? It was it was meant to be almost you have to just see it
it's
for
just
yourself.
And I remember my parents even telling me, saying that before I moved to America, I would describe people as their actual color. So I'll probably call you beige instead of white, Yeah. I'll probably call, a black person brown, but then I moved to America and it's I call people white and black now. And my parents were now it's time for them to know, to be taught and everything. So,
which is interesting because I guess where you grew up and everything, you didn't see it I guess in America, since there's such a huge racial divide sometimes, even though it's a melting pot.
There's
right now, the race relations of, at least in America, they want to, I don't know how I want to say it. Whether you believe it or not, there's certain people that want to really separate black and white, Asian, and it seems like Japan, at least in Ibaraki, even though you're different, maybe they were not trying to be black and Japanese.
I don't think they see race as much. And it's, Japanese, the population here, 98% are Japanese and 2% are foreigners. Right. And most of that 2% are from other Asian countries, which means phenotype-wise, you don't look too different anyway. So people are exposed to people who look different. So it's
phenotype,
how do you...
That's a new word I just learned. Can you explain that?
It's your physical looks. So my color, the shape of my nose, shape of my ears. Japanese people aren't exposed to it in the first place. So even if they do see it, how would they know how to categorize it? You don't know how to handle it. But also the hard part was going to America at age 12, going in 13, not knowing those things and not having anybody to explain it either, at least at first. And it's the first friend that you meet in school, that you make in school, you want to ask them, since you think you're good friends, and it's you ask them, what does this mean? but we're in 6th grade, and I guess those who live in America since birth, it's kind of natural. You naturally know since when you're a child, but nobody was there to really like explain it.
Like cultural differences.
The cultural differences, and about how I guess starting from slavery time, because I did learn about it a little bit in 6th grade in Japan, but I didn't really understand it. Like I didn't like know like the emotional part and why. That was so long ago. Why does that matter now? That was my big question. But I understand now after living there. But that was a hard part to understand. And even if my parents were to teach it to me, from like living like day to day and seeing what's going on around me, that really taught me more so than what my parents explained it to me. You just kind of see it, you kind of feel it, and so that was a huge transition as well.
Were you trying to become more American when you were? Was there something in you that was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna try to be like this?
I guess it's more like that's how people see me, so I felt like I had to be that, which was hard because it's like I have no emotional connection to whatever that is. Being black or being a black woman, whatever it is. I didn't have any connection to how they portray how they are and then me. So I felt kind of pushed to be that, but at the same time not really, because I was known as the black girl from Japan, so I wasn't really a black girl. Like they didn't really see me as a black girl, and so it's like all of a sudden all these things matter. It's like
yeah, because I can imagine yourself as this girl from Ibaraki. You're like, I'm
just Tiffany.
Yeah,
why can't we just end it there?
Yeah, but it becomes like people are like, no, you're black. Like, right? I guess is.
Yeah, really.
And you're like, why does it matter so much?
And it didn't matter for so long, 12 years of my life. So that's the norm. And now all this is shifting. So moving to America was not only learning, I guess, about my parents and what they're used to, but also I'm becoming a young adult as well. So it's also that growth along with learning, this new culture, new language. So it's just that all at once.
Yeah.
Which was probably, what was the hardest.
Well, I guess I do want to talk about like Japanese, American, like the way Japan treats race versus America. Since your parents are African American, I want to talk about maybe anything you've seen that could be considered racist in the U.S. versus in your Japanese side and your American side. Like when you view something, I want to know like both sides of like how you see something. So even for example, are you familiar with Downtown, the Japanese, Yoshimoto?
Yeah.
Did you see that episode where they're doing like police training camp, and then they all like have to wear American police uniforms in the beginning? Oh, okay, I can show you in a little bit. どう思う？まあ一応これ探す。
わかった。I feel like, so I guess we could talk about cultural appropriation.
Okay.
Let's say a Japanese person does braids or she has braids, right? In America, people will go crazy. Like, girl, what are you doing? Take that out. It's not for your hair, XYZ. And
some people probably, I know, don't mind it in America. They're like, hey, you go, girl.
If my friends saw or heard that, it's like, Tiffany, you better tell your people.
Okay. Tell your people. At that time, you're Japanese.
So I got my hair done in Shibuya, actually. I got my braids done by a Japanese person. She's in her 40s who does phenomenal job, She told me her story because she's fully aware about cultural appropriation as well. But the thing is, she likes braiding more than she likes talking, she says. Like, that's just, she's always been doing it since she was little. So I feel like there sometimes needs to be a separation between what person likes versus whatever else it is. Because I feel like if she's just doing what she enjoys doing, she shouldn't be condemned for just because of our sensitivity, having cultural appropriation. I feel like America has a history of especially in the entertainment industry, and especially with in the 60s when they had the Black Crow, is that what it's called? Where they had like painted their faces black. But I feel like those are two different things. And plus Japan isn't so exposed, to foreigners as well. So I feel like sometimes it's just they're admired by it and they try to do it and they're just unaware of what Americans, what we go through historically. So I am like mixed feelings about it. I really am like in the middle of it. It's like I understand this side, Can't really pick and choose.
You're really in the middle then.
I really can't. Like, it's hard.
これ日本人に説明したことある？こういうなんか。
でもあるかな、あると思う。でも深 深い話になっちゃってちょっと変な雰囲気になったみたいな。
でなんか笑ってまあまあ
まあまあまあいやいやいやいやああ OK みたいなあごめんおトイレみたいな
そう日本語で深い話あんまりなんかやんないよね。
そうしないしそこまで日本人からするとそこまで考える必要ないじゃん別に。
そう
だから説明しても無駄かなっていう思いもちょっとある。経験しないじゃんあっちが。もしうちが日本人でアメリカに行ったら I will have a different experience than I do now、黒人だからアメリカに行って I have that experience、so it's like it's important like globally to understand、but my Japanese my Ibaraki side is like I'm never gonna see you know like what do I have to know you know so I'm really mixed feelings about it and because I'm both kind of you know I feel Japanese on the inside so my Japanese side is like it's probably not gonna matter to me but my American you know side is like you need to be educated you know like I will not accept you know ignorance XYZ.
That's interesting.
It's hard.
That is the American side. I actually also did see a recent video of because there are so many subcultures in Japan, right? Like there are the subcultures that like I don't know if it's want to be black, but really admire American black hip hop culture, especially. Do you know Baby Shoop in 109? Did you see that video where it's like Japanese people that they're getting like braids and stuff, and
they have like the brown fit. Yeah.
ベイビーシュープはブラックフォーライフっていうのがコンセプトでブラックカルチャーもリスペクトみたいな感じなんですけどやっぱ音楽とファッションとダンスはもう日本人じゃないっぽくするっていう感じもあるかな。
For Japanese people, it's almost like they just probably because Japan is so like you have to be this, you know, that what is it that derikui ga utareru?
Oh yeah, derikui ga utareru.
The nail that sticks out gets hammered down. So like almost because of that, they wanted like just completely get out and then be like, I really like you know black culture. Some people were like, this is great. Other people were like, I don't like it.
It's so hard. Like my mind is like I think I'm fighting inside my brain right now. Like just I think with my head I'm arguing.
In some sense, you're just like, I wish everyone just got along.
I know, like, and I feel like sometimes. And I feel like some black people are gonna go against me for this, but I feel like because of you know all the things we went through in history and even today, we are very sensitive with anything. Anything that makes it seem like you're taking our culture, anything is like we go off, you know. And I feel like sometimes it is on us to just be like, okay, if you just like our culture, that's fine. Because you know when you're celebrating, let's say black culture, I feel like it shouldn't just be within the black people. So I understand it's important, but I feel like that can extend to other people who appreciate black culture, black people, you know, whatever the categories may be. So I feel like it's up to us to make a change as well, not just controlling what other people, because you can't control what people do. They're gonna do what they want regardless. The same way they can't control what we do, you know. But yeah, I do wish we all like kind of got along. Yeah. I think I've only explained it to one person about that experience, about like me realizing I'm black, I guess, like to a Japanese person. First of all, it's hard to explain. Two, the conversation really doesn't go anywhere. You know, I like having conversations where it bounces off and you're sharing your opinion, but they have the Japanese person, whoever I'm explaining it to, doesn't even know about it. It's like I'm teaching. It's like a lecture, and it's uncomforting for me, you know, to kind of shut up and nothing is coming back. It's like silence.
Oh yeah, you need some.
I sometimes talk to it about with half Japanese, half black people, but otherwise doesn't really come up in conversation.
Real quick, I'm trying to look for.
Forgot about that video.
Yeah, the joke is every year Yamada or Hamada. Yeah, we're gonna go back to that video I was talking about. So every year Hamada wears something different than the rest of the group. So it's kind of an inside joke that most of the time they dress him up like a woman. This time it was like, what's Hamada gonna be? And then it's like Axel Foley. So that was him. So like everyone else had that look, and then because everyone is a police officer, and the joke was he's also a police officer. He's the famous Eddie Murphy.
That's crazy.
And like, is there humor in that? Or...
Me being the Tiffany before moving to America, yes, there's humor. Now it's like, what are you doing? You know, kind of thing.
So, やめてほしいっていう考えがある。
やめてほしいってことではないけど、何をやってるかもちゃんと知ってほしいし、その 実際に黒人に対してそのどう思われるかも知ってほしい、
いや多分知らない。
もしやるならちゃんと知ってほしい。なんだろう、like the history, the why we would be so mad at you for doing that. そこまで知っててやってるなら at least you're expecting the attack, you know, so at least you're ready. Yeah, so だからそこまで知ってほしい。
Yeah.
I think also what's important, that's interesting is that like before moving to America, if I were to be called black, I would be like, that's true. Like there's no connotation of like baggage of anything else. But in America, it's like you're called black. Sometimes it means like you're uneducated, you're this, you're that, and that. But those are the things that I didn't know prior to moving to America. So now moving back, it's like now I'm sensitive to those things now. So it's like everything. It's like I have my sword up, I got my shield. Like it's like I'm more sensitive. So I was truly oblivious to just these things, and so I feel like if somebody were to say, oh, he's black, haha, my Japanese side would be like, yeah, I mean, it's true. Look at me, like, you know, what else am I? But in America, it's like it's just a whole nother. The same way, you know, if you were to be called white, you know,
yeah, I'd be like, it's not untrue.
Facts.
Yeah.
So I think there's also that difference. So the way I perceive things now is different as well.
Yeah, you have two sides in you almost. You have two personalities, almost two different people, and you're trying to find like the middle ground of like where you really stand and fall.
I think that's probably, well, for me at least, it's a challenge because I have these two opposite experiences. It's hard to make one statement, you know. So it's like, yes, I have an opinion, but because I can see both sides, I'm torn inside of me. And when I was taking a ESL, English Second Language, academic writing course, I couldn't make one statement because if you would ask me a question, I have two answers. You know? So it's hard making just one thesis statement. It's like, well, this side I would think this, but if it's not, we can make excuses. Naturally. Yeah. So right now, I guess, you know, being a college student, a university student, and learning more things, I think I'm still trying to bunch everything I experienced into this. You know. So it's still a process, but I do like that I have, and English and Japanese, you know, culturally, language-wise, everything is opposite. And I think I shared this with you before, but speaking in English and speaking in Japanese, I'm two different people. Yeah. And I feel like in America, that would be called two-faced and you're fake, you know, fake and phony or whatever. But the things you say in English just doesn't cross easily in Japan.
Yeah. I mean, I've been told like my Japanese sounds a lot nicer. Like, and when I speak English, like they said like hibiku, motto.
Oh really?
Hibiku.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. 日本語で喋るとこうもっとこう優しく
That's interesting. I guess like when I moved to America, like you know, I'm learning new things. I think I mimic what people say. Like I would hear what they say and I would understand the message that is conveying. So I would kind of take notes into my head, and so I would keep saying that. But in Japanese, it's more natural. Like but like in English, there's a lot of phrases, there's a lot of jokes, there's a lot of things, right? Which Japanese doesn't have. Yeah. And I feel like in English, things come off more casual, more straightforward sometimes, versus Japanese it's more high cultural, so it's like things are more broad, and you know, you could just say kedo, like toilet tsukaitai desu kedo, without finishing the sentence. You already know. Desu kedo. Yeah, if you say I use the bathroom but you could have finished the sentence, you know, kind of thing.
Like,
so
no, you can say one word and people are like, wakata.
It's true, I know.
I did want to bring it back to the point that you went from Japan to America back to Japan, and どっちかっていうと日本の方が心地がいい。
絶対心地がいい。そう。
日本の文化、それとも日本の人、
文化と、
日本人。
そう、日本人も優しいし、文化も好きだし、食べ物も美味しいし。
まあ食べ物は
そう食べ物がもう本当好き。そう。
さっき食べたいちごベーカリーみたいな。
本当美味しかった。But also because もうだって12歳まで日本にいたわけだからもう慣れてるじゃん。アメリカに引っ越しても I'm comparing everything with Japan. So Japan is just a part of me. I can't just throw that off, you know. It's molded me to who I was until age 12, you know. Can't just easily let that go.
It was everything.
It was everything. And although I'm in Tokyo now, it's still a sense of comfort. And Ibaraki to Tokyo 全然違うけど I think it's just the Japan. I think it's just very comforting being here.
This is kind of random, but do you have more Japanese friends or non-Japanese friends now in Japan?
Non-Japanese friends because first of all I go to American University and 40% are Americans specifically. But also, although there are Japanese people, I don't go out and tell them because 見た目じゃ日本語わかる知ってるってことわかんないじゃん。
そうだね。
ハーフでもないし、ハーフか1ミリもないから。
Yeah.
But it's like I'm not gonna go out and say ね日本語話せるから友達になろうみたいな。I'm not gonna do that.
誰がそれ言うの？
そうだって
日本語が
And
話せるから。
I'm very shy. I'm very 人見知り and so I'm not gonna go out my way to say I speak Japanese.
Yeah, yeah.
で日本人もあっちから来ないじゃん。
そっかそっか。
だって
だから
I wouldn't go either. You
まあ
know.
ね
So 日本人の友達欲しいけど、I'm too shy.
それがティファの日本人の部分かな。
I'm too shy. I
The
can't.
shy Japanese.
Like
side.
I'm waiting. You know, like.
Do you have any final like thoughts you want to say to anyone about like identity or like figuring out who you are?
I feel like for me at least, I don't have like a specific identity because although I am black and I'm from Japan, you know, blah blah blah. I feel like for me, I kind of go by how people see me. Like I'm gonna, you know, keep portraying the way I want to portray myself, and the way that other people take it is, I guess, is gonna be my identity. But it's not for me to define how other people see me. And I feel like you should really take advantage of every experience you go through, not to necessarily just be a victim and you know just say this happened, but kind of take the good and the bad. I feel like the bad is just as important as the good to, you know, become the person whoever you want to be. Keep living, life is great. Thanks for today.
You can follow her.
Yes, my user is TiffRichX. Y'all can DM me if you have any questions or if you just want to share something. I'm always open to hear. I like sharing just as much as I like hearing.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. ありがとう。
ありがとう。
ありがとう。お疲れ様です。
Oh my god, I'm so nerve-wracking.